I'm Colin Slapeback, Parks Director for the City of Janesville. I'd like to welcome everybody here, any council members, dignified community leaders, ladies and gentlemen. Again, welcome to the Oak Hill Chapel. I hope you agree that this place looks a lot different than it did a few years ago. So we're going to talk about the process a little bit today. What you see today is the result of 5 years of work led by community volunteers. Today is not only a day to recognize the efforts put forth by the volunteers, but also a day to say thank you for you all who were donors, contractors, other community members who helped with this project. And the Friends of Oak Hill Chapel have estimated a total of over 64,000 person hours working on this chapel. If you use the federal volunteer rate, that's over $1.5 million for labor alone. You may or may not know the history of how the city took over ownership, but it was passed on from the former Oak Hill Cemetery Association. So at the end of 2008, the city of Janesville became owners of Oak Hill Cemetery. With that, there were several buildings, the chapel being one of them, that was in dire need of repair. So knowing that, I had a comprehensive review done by a local architect to decide a way forward. At that time, after looking at cost estimates, it was decided that the city was going to recommend tearing it down. Shortly after that announcement, a group of concerned citizens rallied together, and this is what you have today. At this time, I'd like to introduce Richard Snyder. He's the co-chairperson for the Friends of Oak Hill Chapel, and he's going to guide you through the renovation process.
Hello, everybody. It's been an incredible 5 years working on this chapel. All the many aspects that we had to address, the phase one, the exterior of the building, all the tuck pointing, the roof, the new handicap ramp here in the back is new, the whole front and 2 terraces are new. There's a video that I'm going to have viewed here for all of you to see every step that we took and did it by the book, 100%. The windows have all been restored or replaced. That is my expertise, and that was just an incredible endeavor to take on myself, and with help from some of the group members and others that did that. We could have not done this without your help. You're the ones that raised the money along with the city staff. They put the money together as well. We had $100,000 to start with. And how this all started, after seeing that first article June 3rd in the Janesville Gazette 2013 that caught my eye to do something. I grew up just blocks away from here as a small boy. I ride the bike up here, ski down the hills, and it stated the city wanted to tear it down. First thing Monday morning then, that was Saturday, the article came out, I was down at the city trying to talk with them and tell them what I wanted to do and help and whatever I could do to save the chapel. At that point, we started a meeting, and then later in the year, we went to the City Council, and again I spoke to them stating that I would do everything in my power to fix the windows, do the construction, whatever I could do to help save it. They suggested to start a group, raise $40,000, come back and see us in 5 months, and that's exactly what we did. So after saving it then, that 5 months later, we wanted to take on restoring it by the people that we knew, and most all the group members, their life's work were contractors, plumbers, electricians, contractors of all different sorts. Worked out really well for what we needed to do here. So original, there was about 15 in the group, and some have come and gone, and right now there's about 10 of us left that have done a lot of the work in the last couple of years. But there's two people that I would like to thank personally in the group, and they've just done tremendous work. We couldn't have done as far as we've gotten so far without their number one man, if I was to choose one, would be Lon Copeland. He has done so much work. Lon. He is an expert stonemason bricklayer that has done all the tuck pointing with guiding us group members and others. He brought volunteers from MATC that worked a couple of weekends and learned how to tuck point this building, and valuable experience, for restoring a at that time 113-year-old building, and plus all the beautiful stonework, the new stairway, the terraces, the wall in the front was done with Michael Keller. He was a Eagle Scout trying to get his status there, and him and Lon worked together to build that first retaining wall just east of that fountain base out there. And the second person I would want to name here is Jerry Jazz. Jerry, where are you? Jerry Jazz is our project manager. He directed a lot of the projects here. We worked along with him, and he was an asset to the whole group. So thank you, Jerry. Let's take a look from start to finish here. Afterwards, if you got questions, myself or the group members would love to answer them for you. This was the beginning in 1900 when it opened. And the fountain, too, we plan on replacing. You can just see it there at the edge on the right. That was the original porch that was built and put on in 1912. And we had to take it down because the foundation was shot. So there was no saving it. The metal framework in the front there, now that's taken down, but this is what this framework here for this window was. It's going to go right up there with those 3 stained glass windows. The doors we found in the basement, the original front doors. Bob Sass and crew did the roofing with a great discount, and group members helped as well. That was the foundation for the ramp in the back for the handicap. In the front entrance foundation. Tuck pointing the west wall here on the back. Lon hard at work. That's about 50 feet up. Standing, kneeling up there like it's nothing. Phase 2, we started the interior work. All this paneling here, red birch, was covered in about 3 coats of yellow paint. It took hundreds, thousands of hours to strip it down. We used dental tools to get inside the grooves. And then all the baseboard here is new. That's something that wasn't here. That's all red birch too. All the electrical was actually outside, and we wanted to hide it, so we buried it in the wall. Most all the trim for the windows and doors we've saved and reused. We tried to keep it as original as possible. The glass recovery, we found over 500 loose pieces in the basement in the very beginning that was buried by the ceiling that fell down upon it. And a lot of it I could reuse to fix all the breakage in that, and that's all original glass. That was the first window I took out to videotape the restoration, to burn a DVD, to sell it as a reward actually for donations to raise some of the money. And all the bubble glass, the clear glass, were areas of windows that were missing and thrown away years ago because of vandals. They replaced it with that bubble glass. So any vacant window was gone. 80% of the south side was gone. It's all new glass, same design as the north. Glass saving, salvaging, and refurbishing. This window there in the back on the right is a memorial window of William Starr Judd, the young son of the doctor that he memorialized. And that nameplate had to be repainted and fired. The anchor on the north side is the only piece that's replaced. The original one had BB holes in it and cracked, and Marge Minogue repainted the anchor. Go anchor. Chuck Bailey sponsored it, by the way. Working in my studio on the window restoration. All the wood frames were refinished, stripped down and refinished by group members. So when the windows were finished, they could go back into a new frame. Every piece taken out of the old lead, cleaned by hand, washed, rinsed, dried. As you take an old window apart, you build it back the way it was onto a piece of pattern paper so you know where every piece goes and every piece has a number. You'd never get it back together without doing that. That was after it was taken out, how dirty before it was washed. The first two sponsors, window A, right there at the very top, Craig and Nancy Holden. Restoration, plastering, the whole inside has been replastered, repaired. Different areas were cracks and then installing the electrical, and all these beam boxes are new. That covers the electric conduit now underneath. It used to be on the outside, and we wanted to cover it. Instead of cutting it into what was there, we built the boxes. Lights that we had found online and refurbished them, rewired them. And the rosettes, the medallions that hide the box above it. The Jewel of Oak Hill Chapel, this was, this window here, the jewel up there is a new window. I involved the 3 middle schools so the kids could learn to cut glass and be part of that window. That's the largest of all 44. The names, the letters, everything's hand-painted and fired in a kiln to melt it on. 2-level terrace, the Boy Scouts building the retaining wall, that was Michael Kettle and Lon Copeland. That's the original base for the fountain. That is now all painted up and detailed, and we plan to put a new fountain in its base for a flower garden instead of the water. And the restoration of the stained glass windows. The north side, that was the first. We installed all 18 on November 16 of 16. Those 3 medallions, the wheat, the sign of Christ, and the Bible are original. And like I say, everything else except the anchor is original glass. Even the bottom second to the right there, that shield, it had a BB hole in it, but I decided to use it anyway because it was a solid piece of glass and a piece of history. South side, there were only 6 that were original. The rest were gone because of vandals and they threw them away. Oh, the BB hole stones that made those marks and cracked it. I had to use a Tiffany glass to, after you paint the letters and the numbers on there, you need to see the colors. So I used Tiffany opalescent glass that when you scratch out the black paint, you can see the color come through the glass to match of what was there. These are 3 new ones that are in this frame here, the 2 arch and the kite shape in the center. The oak leaves and the acorn painted in the center window there represent faith and endurance. That will hang right up there when it's finished. These doors were made by Amish door makers, solid red birch, original design to what was here. And we're having them professionally hung in a week or 2. A bench that was donated, it's sitting out here in front, just a beautiful piece. And John and Shirley Harry, the original pump organ, that's a story that I'm sure he will love to tell about the organ. He's loaned it back to the chapel for display. And many thanks to the city council, city staff, and so many that have come forward and helped us out in every way to get the news out there for open houses and fundraising events and you name it. It's just whatever we could do and find to raise that first $40,000 and through the years to keep going. Thank you very much.
Next, I'm going to ask City Manager Mark Freitag to come up. He's going to say a few words.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I first got introduced to the Friends of Oak Hill Chapel in December of 2013. They were one of the first community groups that came to speak to me as I came on board as a new city manager. And I would tell you that the first thing they asked me was, was I willing to support the effort to restore the chapel? I said, absolutely. And have spent a lot of time coming to visit and watching the progress. I'm personally invested in the restoration, but I thought that it was important for us today to recognize some of the folks that have really done some heavy lifting. Some of those folks that were working here late hours, long days, to deliver this amazing restoration of a piece of Janesville's history. And so what we're going to do is we've got some city coins to present. Cullen's going to read your name. If you'd come on up, I'll present you the coin and would ask you to stay here up front because we want to then do a presentation of the resolution that the council passed this past Monday night. But as we call your name, please just come on up. Shake my hand. I'm going to pass you off a coin and then just stay up here for a few minutes. But again, this is a quintessential example of public-private partnership and a community coming together to do a historic restoration and deliver an amazing asset for generations to come. And so we're excited to say thank you today.
Okay, first, Lon Copeland. Is he hiding? Richard Snyder. Jim Crittenden. Jerry Jass. Dale Nobinski. Roy Rasmussen. John Harry. Marty Janish. Donna Bakken. Kurt Link. And Marge Minogue.
So if we could please give them a round of applause. Thank you very much. So what we're going to do now is, Councilmember Williams is here representing the council today. They passed this last Tuesday night a resolution declaring today Friends of Oak Hill Chapel Day in the city of Janesville. So Cullen will read that, and I'd like Councilmember Williams to please come forward, present the resolution. Did you want to say anything? It's your call.
You know,
No pressure.
it's a great day here for this chapel to be reopened. This is so important to us here in Janesville, that we have such a great place here, and for all of our ancestors who are buried here, and so many other important people that are here in the cemetery. And it's really interesting if you go and see that. It would be such a shame if this would have been lost. So really appreciate this. On behalf of the city, we have this resolution.
Why don't you go snare up with them?
The resolution reads, a resolution proclaiming June 2nd, 2018 as Oak Hill Chapel Day in the city of Janesville. Whereas the city of Janesville assumed ownership of Oak Hill Chapel in 2008, and whereas the 114-year-old cemetery chapel was in a state of disrepair, and whereas the city completed a comprehensive review of the chapel structure, and whereas upon review of the renovation cost estimates, the city concluded the most cost-effective option was to raise the building. And whereas upon hearing of the proposal to demolish the building, concerned citizens rallied together to convince the city council to save the structure, and whereas the citizen group was tasked with raising $40,000 in a 5-month period in order to receive $60,000 from the city of Janesville, and whereas the Friends of Oak Hill Chapel was formed and successfully raised the necessary funding, and whereas through monetary donations, in-kind services, and countless volunteer hours, the chapel was restored, and whereas the restored structure is expected to last another 100 years, and whereas the city of Janesville is forever grateful for the efforts put forth by the Friends of Oak Hill Chapel. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the city of Janesville that the Janesville Common Council does hereby proclaim Saturday, June 2nd, 2018 as Oak Hill Chapel Day in the city of Janesville. We urge residents of Janesville to make time on June 2nd, 2018 to visit the restored chapel and acknowledge the efforts of the Friends of Oak Hill Chapel. There are a few of the Friends members that are up here that would like to say a few words. So if you guys want to come over to the microphone.
I just wanted to thank everybody for everything that they've done for us, all the volunteers. Working together this long is really difficult to do. Volunteer groups, you know, they never stay together. They fall apart real soon. The city was helpful in keeping everything running for us and helping us with all the issues that we had. And it's really tough to have a community come together like we did. So kudos to all you guys. Thank you.
John, did you? I think John's shy now that all the people are here.
I'm of course up here to tell you about the organ. We don't know just how old it was or when the Cemetery Association obtained it. Those records have been misplaced or lost. All we know is that the organ, or of course the chapel, was built in 1899. We're pretty sure that the organ was soon put in. It was built by the A.B. Chase Organ Company in Norwalk, Ohio. They did not last too much longer after 1900. They were bought out, from what I've heard, by another company. It's a walnut case. The original cost, now Jim Crittenden found the old catalog on the internet, and he dashed off a copy for me. We found out that the original cost of that organ was $230. Today's dollars, I have no idea, but it's going to be a heck of a lot higher. I was working here at the cemetery, mowing grass. I worked here during the summers. This was after high school and in between going to college. And I was sent here, down here with some other fellows to pick up some equipment. At that time, we came in through the back door. This place was dingy and dark. I'd have no memory at all of what it looked like. It was it was just a mess. And the equipment was scattered around on the floor, along with a bunch of dirt, dust, cobwebs, what have you. And that old organ sat about here. So later, I happened to come home for vacation, and I popped up to see some friends up here, some of the old guys. And Herman Engelbretson, the sexton, mentioned to me, he said, they're going to clean out the chapel. Had no idea what they were figuring on. I asked him, for some reason or other, it popped into my head. I asked him, I said, what are they going to do with the old organ? Well, he says, I don't know. I says, are they going to junk it or what? I don't know. I said, well, do you think they'd let me buy it? Well, he says, put in a bid and see if you get it. So, not having much money, I put in a $5 bid, and I got it. Okay, I took it home, and Shirley and I were married married in June of '59. She is actually the real owner of the organ now. When I got married, I gave it to her for a wedding present. Now, if you fellows, you get married, you usually give your wife a wedding present, I suppose. I don't know. Anyway, I did. I got real lucky. It made her real happy. It only cost me $5. Well, after that, the organ made it through 3 kids and 6 grandchildren. Thank God they were all good kids. Some of them are still here, or are here today. Everything, I'm telling my story because it seems like there were an awful lot of coincidences. For some reason or other, this organ was supposed to be saved. I still don't know who owns the organ. The organ owns us or we own it. But anyway, about 5-6 years ago, Shirley and I are getting on in years. We decided we needed to do something with the organ, downsize. I asked Rock County Historical Society if they wanted it. I told them it's got the provenance and everything, and they said, we don't have room. And I was all set to get a hold of Wisconsin Historical Society, and our grandfather clock at home clunked out on us, quit working. Well, we got hold of Ken Connors, somehow or other, and he came in the house, and he's working on the clock. And we were chatting with him, and we mentioned the organ came from the Oak Hill Cemetery Chapel. Oh, he says, did you know that a bunch of people are trying to restore that chapel? They have big plans on it. And I said, no. I said, do you think they would want the organ? He says, I don't know. He says, I think they would. And I said, well, let's find out. So I went to the next meeting, and geez, I was mobbed. This was 25 years ago. Anyway, we held on to the organ because the inside of the chapel was being worked on, full of dust, plaster dust. The fellows here did so much work. It just still amazes me. I didn't get in on a lot of it. My age is kind of holding me back. But to see all the work that they made up for more than what I could put in. But just a week and a half ago, we finally got to deliver the organ here. Larry Froming is a minister in Beloit. He had come in to take a look at the organ. He fixes organs. If you got an organ around that you want to fix, he's the man to go to. He was playing the organ along, and all of a sudden, whoomp! One of the pedal straps broke. This stuff is about this wide. It's webbed, and I was able to finally fix it, not exactly like it wanted to. But today he played the organ again, and the other strap broke. So right now I've got another job to do. But anyway, let's see, I think that's everything. Okay, but thanks ever so much for listening to me. Thanks ever so much for coming to see this place. It's amazing. The people that got together to work on it, to provide support. It's mind-boggling and amazing. Thank you so much.
All right, to finish out the day, I want to leave you with a quote that you've probably heard many times, but I think it speaks to this group and to the community in general. It's from anthropologist Margaret Mead. It says, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." Thanks for coming. I want to thank everybody for everything they've done. Thank you, everybody.
Hello, everybody. My name's Richard Snyder. We're here. We're going to donate a bench, dedicate a bench. That money was given for this bench here that we put in place last week. That will come in very handy for anybody to come and take a rest and view this beautiful park-like cemetery. And I'll turn it over to John. He introduced Gordy that actually sponsored the bench, so I'll give it here to John Harry.
Yeah, this is Gordy Byerline. It's his wife, and he lost her just last year, and he wanted her. He donated the bench so that we could put it here. Couldn't be put up on her grave, but this makes a good spot. This is Kathy's folks.
Carl and Betty Ludke.
Carl and Betty Ludke, thank you. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Gordy, for that.
It's a privilege.
It's a beautiful bench. It'll be here for hundreds of years.
Yep. She wanted a bench, and we've got a bench in the cemetery, and we appreciate that opportunity.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.